Hi, my lovely people. Welcome back to a brand new episode of A Black Cat's Voice. First things first, I just want to thank each and every one of my supporters. So, every person who's listened, who's sent me a kind message, who follows my social media, thank you guys so much, because as a black woman, I'm always silenced in the world. My entire life, I've been told to be silent. So the fact that I can not only use my voice, but people actually care about what I have to say, it just really means more than you guys could imagine. So just thank you guys. Thank you so much. It really warms my heart. So for Black History Month, for the month of February, I wanted to focus more on so-called black issues and black topics. And these episodes will probably be longer than what you're used to, but just try to bear with me because I have a lot of information to present and I don't want to leave anything out. So they might be a little bit longer, but I promise it'll be worth it if you listen to the end. So let's get into it. Today, I wanted to try my best to answer a very complex question that there are multiple answers to. I'm not saying what I'm about to say is the only answer to this question, but these are just my opinions based off the facts that I know. And be mindful that with everything I say, it may be a little bit triggering to hear some of the stories I'm about to give to you, but know that it all comes from a good place, and I'm not speaking on anything to hurt anybody. I'm just speaking because as a person who's been hurt very frequently in her life, I can say that the first step to healing is to acknowledge the pain. So, today's question that I'm going to try to answer is, why can't black people get over slavery? Why can't black people get over slavery? So, my first point. Slavery was much more brutal than most people think. Now, American history and probably history books other places in the world, I'm not sure since I've only lived in America, but American history lies about the real story. Slavery was brutal. Slavery was brutal. It was horrifying. It was dehumanizing, and it was horrendous. One common example. Everybody knows George Washington, the so-called first president. He had wooden teeth, right? Did you guys know that he actually never had wooden teeth and that his teeth came from the mouths of slaves? They ripped people's teeth out with no pain medicine and no anesthesia to give them to George Washington, because he never had wooden teeth. Look it up. Don't believe me. On top of that, families were separated. Families were deliberately separated. If a slave master knew you liked a woman, or a woman liked a man, or a woman was serious about a child, anything like that, they would deliberately split those people up. It's like they intentionally wanted to break apart families, or especially if a slave would act out, that would be punishment. They would sell your daughter, sell your son, sell your boyfriend, whoever, as punishment. On top of that, sexual assault was very common. Now, a lot of people like to believe that it was just black women who were being assaulted and, having to be sex slaves during that time. But no, this also included men and children. Men and children were forced to do a lot of things that they weren't comfortable with doing, I'm sure, just because they were slaves. Everybody wasn't 18, even though that's how they tend to present it in a lot of these movies and a lot of different stuff. On top of that, they treated us differently based on skin tone. Light-skinned people could get certain jobs that darker-skinned people could never get. Every even the way you were treated, the food you were given, a lot of that stuff was based on skin tone. And that's something that started colorism, which is still an issue in the Black community, but I will get into that later because that's a whole other episode. Another thing, did you know that slaves didn't always have to do anything to be disciplined? Slave masters would train dogs to attack their slaves. Not just dogs, but did you know they would make us fight each other? They would make my people fight each other for clothes, for food. Sometimes they would even make them fight each other to the death. Just for fucking entertainment. Excuse my language, but can you believe that? Can you believe somebody making you fight somebody for your life? For entertainment? Another point. Another reason Black people can't get over slavery is because there's too many slave movies and TV shows. To this very day, I feel like every single year, correct me if I'm wrong, but living in America, I feel like every year a slave movie comes out. Some kind of slave movie, some kind of slave TV show. Every single year, there's some quote unquote new story about a slave. Now, no offense to anybody's family whose story hasn't been told or whose story has just recently been told. Everybody's story is important. That's not what I'm saying. The point that I'm making is that why can't we have movies and TV shows about who we were before slavery? Why doesn't America make more TV shows, more movies, just more everything about who we were before slavery? Like, in a way, to me, it kind of seems like they're emphasizing the point that slavery was good for us because we accomplished all these things after the fact, and maybe if we wouldn't have went through slavery, we wouldn't have accomplished these things. Now, I'm not saying that's what I believe, but I'm saying that's the picture that I'm painted as a person in America. Like, do you know how psychologically damaging it is to be a child? From my personal experience, I was a Black child in a classroom where nobody else was Black, being taught my people were slaves, and having everybody stare at me, and having everybody look down on me, and having everybody make me feel like I was less than about my skin color. Something I can't even control. Like, in addition to this, do you know that I'm sure everybody knows about the reparations, right? Not only did everybody not get the 40 acres and the mule that they were promised, did you know that they gave money to slave masters for lost wages and lost workers? Did you know that almost every slave master was compensated greatly for the money they lost from freeing all the slaves? But we couldn't get our 40 acres and a mule. Let's talk about it. On top of that, even as so-called free people, our transition into society was and still is ridiculous. Back then, Black people didn't have even the most basic of freedoms. And I'm not talking about just not being able to drink at the water fountain or just not being able to sit in the front of the bus. Did you know that back during the time Black people just became free, that a Black male 18 or older could sign up to be in the military? Not only could, but had to sign up to be in the military to fight for a country that wouldn't let you drink from the water fountain a white man drank out of when you got back. How would you feel fighting for a country that when you get back, they're still going to disrespect you? And I'm not saying this off no he say, she say. My grandfather gave me this information. My mother's father. That's how close this is. This isn't my great-great-grandpa, my great-great-auntie. My grandpa told me this story about that's how he had to go to war, because I remember asking him what made you want to join the military? And he said I didn't and proceeded to tell me this story. Like, it's just ridiculous, you know? Like, even fighting in the service, did you know there were certain ranks you couldn't achieve or obtain as a black person? Did you know you can be active duty, you can fight, you can do all the jobs somebody else does and still receive little to no credit in the military as a black person during that time? And that's just another example of like the disrespect. Like, it's, how do you trust me enough to protect your country and handle these weapons of mass destruction, but I can't drink out the fucking water fountain? Are you kidding me? I can't sit in the front of the bus? That's why we can't get over slavery. On top of that, my final reason why we can't seem to get over slavery, we still have no real sense of freedom. Where can black people go and be free? We can't be too loud. We can't wear our hair. We can't express ourselves. Like, where in the world can a black person go and not experience any discrimination? Please tell me if you know a place that a black person can go and live and thrive and be their authentic self and not be perceived as a threat and not be discriminated against. Please tell me. Please message me and tell me at ablackcatsvoice@gmail.com. Please message me. But it's just like, where do we get to feel safe? Like, well, I guess, you know what? I guess we do get to feel safe at home, right? At least we can be ourselves at home. Oh, wait. We got to say her name, Breonna Taylor. She wasn't safe in her home. She wasn't safe in her body. Where do we get to be ourselves? You know, where is this freedom in the so-called land of the free? You know, it's devastating to live in fear and to constantly have to adjust and fix yourself in society just because of something as simple as the color of your skin. And all of these things that are happening to us, all of the, you know, the ways that we are discriminated against, it all stems from slavery. So how could we get over something that is still happening? That's why black people can't get over slavery. Because how can you heal from a wound that has never been properly treated? But that's it, you guys. That's all the points I wanted to make for today. I hope this made you guys think. I hope you learned something new or heard something you hadn't heard before. And yeah, just know that we can't get over it because it's still happening. Black lives always have and always will matter, whether the world believes that for us or not. Take care, you guys, and stay safe. And thank you for listening.